Okay, so we're on to our last, second from last track, okay? And we're changing the tone a bit. I mean, it's still around security, um, but from API gateways into offensive API penetration testing. Okay, so I know there were earlier questions on this. There was one question on penetration testing. With this, joining me is Sunny, who's our lead security engineer at Calibo. Um, Calibo um, markets itself as a product platform as a service, or PPaaS, right? So be hi Sunny, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, good. I'm good, thanks. Yeah. So just looking at the topic here, and you're also redefining digital innovation. Okay, so really curious to find out more about this. But the main topic is API penetration testing. And we had earlier a question on that. We also had a question on DDoS, but I'm sure you've got your own structure around this. Um, yeah. Do you
So
have any
yeah,
slides to share? Sorry for the
yes.
delay.
So is my slide visible now?
Let's see. So we would need it in full screen mode, please.
Okay. I think I'll have to reshare it again. Just give me a second.
Okay. So, Sunny, your background is quite technical, right? Around security. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do feel free to share your passion on this because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of dedication around solving this problem.
All right. So basically, nowadays we are seeing APIs everywhere, right? Like early morning when you wake up, you use your the home totally based on the IoT. But behind that, APIs are getting used, right? So as we use the more things, the more vulnerabilities, the more attacks, the more attackers coming in are going to be very much uh, you know very much of kind of cheesy thing, right? So
Yep.
yeah. So my technicality is totally into the penetration testing, and I've been doing this for about 6 or 7 years. And today I'm going to be presenting more of API penetration testing, right?
Great.
So
So
may I start?
we can see your slides. It's all perfect. And
uh,
do share your passion on penetration testing. All right. Have fun. Speak later.
thank you. thank Thank you. Okay, so about me, I'm Sunny Singh. I'm a lead security engineer at Calibo. Calibo is a product-based company where we focus on product management, and actually, it is more than product management, which will be coming in the future. So yeah, and I'm working as a principal security engineer at Cyber.in, and I'm leading a team of security engineers at Skywall as well, right? So in my leftover time, I sometimes get time, so I perform the bug bounty hunting stuff as well, right? So the agenda or the content of today's talk is going to be the introduction about the API and security, and then the lab setup to practice the API security and or penetration testing, and the tools that are very much common or that can be used heavily to perform the pen test. And then finally, we need a standard to follow upon to check, if we are secure, right? So OWASP is nowhere gone, right? So OWASP will be discussing the OWASP top 10 APIs vulnerability, and then some resources that I share that can be helpful to the viewers, right? Okay, so next I'll be going to the introduction. So I think everyone here is well known about APIs is well known, right? So APIs are mechanism that enable two software components to communicate with each other, using a set of definition and a protocol, right? So, for example, let's say we go on Amazon, we go on Flipkart, we go on MMT and book the flights, right? But behind that, what is happening is the airlines like Indigo, Vistara, and all of that, they are having their API securely shared with these clients like MMT, Amazon, and all. Right, so the user goes to Amazon or MMT or Flipkart, books one flight, books the seat. So everything that they do on Amazon app or on MMT app, they are being utilized. They are being utilized for the booking by the APIs, right? So so basically, APIs cannot be seen while while being on the screen, right? But I think this is the worst surface for any attacker to go and get the vulnerabilities nowadays, right? So why API security? So obviously, as I mentioned, that APIs are getting used everywhere, right? Like on IoT devices, on mobiles, web applications, and all of that. So the more it is being used, the more it is going to be vulnerable, right? So that is where it catches the attacker's eye, and that is why there is a very 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 much need of API security. Right. With that, I'll jump onto the types of APIs. So mainly there are three APIs that are being used nowadays. Anyway, so SOAP is I think is now legacy, right? So SOAP is a simple object access protocol, whereas REST is a stateless protocol, and GraphQL is mainly used to execute the it is used to execute the queries based on the data that are present, right? So and about the SOAP, so SOAP mainly uses the XML, whereas REST uses the plain text XML and JSON. But what I have seen so far, mainly that is JSON, right? So the request made, the responses back from the RESTful APIs are mainly JSON, and that will be presented to the clients like mobile applications, web applications, cars, and etc. Right. So obviously, when we want to perform something, some pen test, or when we want to learn something or any kind of attack, definitely there are enough resources available to practice, especially when it comes to hacking or when it comes to penetration testing. Yes, it is available, right? So few resources that I have come across and I have put up here, like VAPI. V stands for vulnerable. So vulnerable API is set of Postman collection, where it mimics the OWASP top 10 API vulnerabilities that can be practiced, right? So you simply go to the website and there is the walkthrough given. You can just import the Postman collection and start practicing, and then the same goes for V. MPI and REST API Go. So all these three are REST API. As I mentioned that REST API is present and GraphQL is going to be future, I guess, right? And yeah, so all these three are REST APIs. All these three, uh, I think they have Postman collection, can be imported very easily in Postman, and that can be practiced using the for the techniques that I'm going to be telling. Right. Okay. So main tools or the common tools that we're going to use for this penetration testing is going to be Postman. So Postman is a client where we kind of import the request and responses, or we can put the URL, put the HTTP method, what we want to send to the server, and as soon as we send it, we'll get the request. Sorry, we'll get the response back from the server, right? So um, as we do not have a screen, so-called screen, like web, Postman can be used like that, right, for the APIs. So yeah, Postman can be one, but it will be like the one of the strongest tools if it is being used along with the Bob suite, right? So you import the collection in Postman and then route it through the Bob suite proxy, right? So there are multiple functionalities in Bob suite proxy where we can intercept the request, modify according to us, and then change it, play around, see if we can we can, if we can send malicious payload, get the response back, and all of that, right? Okay, so apart from that, obviously there is a need of fuzzing the parameters, fuzzing the contents. So there are multiple tools like API fuzzer, f kite runner, right? So these can be used to scan the APIs as well as fuzz them, right? And one of the strongest tool that I've come across to scan the APIs is by Imperva, automatic API attack tool, right? So basically, it takes the any URL and scans the APIs very actively. Okay. Apart from that, I think there is no penetration test done related to application security if it is not done with extensions, right? So for the GraphQL, there is a very strong tool called InQL, and for the SOAP projects, there is the WSDLR. So basically, you can import the WSDL file and kind of play around the request and response using the Bobsit extension. Okay, so the next is OWASP API top 10. I think this is the uh, most focused area that would be for the today's talk. Okay, so as we have limited time, I'll be going through top five of them, but here is the list of 10, right? So yeah, if time permits, even I'll go into the other ones as well, right? So first one is broken object level authorization. So you must have heard about this as Bola or IDOR in the web application, right? So this was referenced as insufficient uh, direct object reference, but the OWASP guys decided to keep it in another category called broken object level authorization for the APIs, right? So basically, Bola is an attack where, let's say, if a user A uh, is supposed to have access to a particular resource called ABC, right? But somehow if he changes the reference to CDE, and he gets that particular resource which is not supposed to have access to, is called Bola attack, right? So in this case, what happens mainly, like there have been multiple sites, multiple APIs where such kind of attack has been seen, so where the resources have been breached out, and there was no proper authentication, there was no proper authorization, right? So to to secure this, one has to kind of put a proper input validation, and then whatever, obviously whatever they're taking in the request, whatever they're taking um, through the parameters, that should be validated, and then the response will be provided accordingly. All right. Another one strong thing that is coming up in the future is going to be RBAC, right? So implementing RBAC can be one of the strongest thing to avoid Bola, right? Okay. So the next one is broken authentication. So broken authentication is basically, obviously the name suggests, the authentication is broken, right? So nowadays what happens, like developers are mainly looking into securing the web application and the front end side, but they never care about the APIs, right? So they have very strong authentication mechanism, 2FA, MFA, and everything enabled on their application. But when you go behind and check the APIs, they are totally unauthenticated, or they're weakly authenticated. So when I say weakly authenticated, it can be something like the username is simply admin, the password is password or admin, or if they are using any authentication mechanism, or let's say if they're using JWT tokens and all, they are weakly configured, right? So yeah, so this is being seen a lot um, nowadays. So to prevent this authentication, broken authentication in the APIs, one should be having a very strong authentication method implemented. So we do all it takes for the application, but we do not do for the APIs, which is not good. So APIs are as um, crucial as your application, right? Okay. So next one is third one is excessive data exposure, right? So what we see on the applications are way lesser than what we get on the API responses, right? So basically, let's say if an attacker sends a particular request for asking for a user's name and address, right? And what he sees in the application is the username and the user's name and address, right? But it may happen that in the API there are much more data that has been given by the server, like maybe password, users mobile number, users credit card number, and all of that. So the excessive data exposure should be stopped. To prevent that, obviously that there should be a very much strong validation from both the sides, uh, server side and client side as well, right? Okay, so next one is lack of resources and rate limiting. So nowadays, as John was talking right before we started talk, that there have been questions around DOS, DDoS attacks and all, right? So the biggest reason for that is not putting the rate limiting on the APIs, right? So basically, there has been a lot of effort put up to limit the ratings in the applications, right? Like they might be putting the captchas, they might be putting the restrictions, right? But the same does not happen with the API, right? So the developer should be having very much focus on the limiting each and every request, right? Let's say for an example, if there is a user registration page, right? So user registration, let's say if a user wants to register himself, and if he automates that uh, to create multiple accounts in one go, maybe 100,000, 2,000 accounts in one go, and that might end up in the DOS or DDoS attack. So rate limiting is one of the biggest thing for any organization to have, you know, to get them secured from DOS and DDoS attack. Okay. And the next one is a broken function level authorization. So broken function level authorization is more or less like bola. So basically, bola, like the user or the attacker is provided with the particular resource that he's not supposed to have. But here what happens, like now, this depends on the function of the application, or function of the API, right? Let's say if there is a normal level user and gets some access to delete some data which should be deleted only by the admin role, right? So this kind of function is broken, or if this kind of actions are done by the attacker, it's called broken function level authorization, right? So yeah. So to stop this, one can again implement RBAC, and then input validation will help there a lot, right? Do not let users or end users perform any kind of uh, you know uh, uh, like request which can delete the resources, or put some malicious data on the server, right? So those things should be stopped, or those things should be very much validated, right? Okay, so with that, we have covered five of them. I think we should be moving towards the next slide, because of the time limit, right? Okay, so next one is the resources. So I'm kind of person, who looks into uh, who looks into the internet all the time for anything, right? So um, if I open my mobile, if I open my laptop, I want some news related to technical field, or hacking, or penetration testing should be going on all the time, right? So for the API security, I always refer apisecurity.io, right? So this is by 42 Crunch. They are awesome, right? They are putting a lot of effort in providing the API tools, the all the API vulnerabilities that are out there. If there are new 0 days related to APIs, the walkthrough and everything will be provided by them. So I recommend API security all the time, right? They have a lot of resource, lot of things on their website, so you can go to apisecurity.io and get lot of knowledge there. Okay. Apart from that, there are so many of my friends. They put a lot of effort to put all the knowledge on the GitHub, right? So uh, there are like chopping 31 days of API security tips, and then awesome API security is one that I recommend to any user who, or any penetration tester who wants to go and learn about API pen testing, right? So yeah, so these are the kind of resources that I would recommend one to go and check out. So with that, i'm 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 done with the talk. I think I'll open the floor for the questioners.
Hey, thanks very much, Sunny. Hey, and also perfectly on time.
Thank you.
So this ties in really, really closely with what Vandana was talking about earlier, because she was on the same framework, OWASP, but this goes a bit
Right.
deeper. And
Yes.
we just got a little bit of inkling. I told you before, or asked the passion, and we just got that at the end when you started referring your documentation and to the community,
Yep.
right? So it's a pretty tight community. Um, so with this respect here, I know you've done a lot to simplify it, right? Top 10 uh, uh, threats, or top 10 responses to threats, right? Through
Yeah.
testing. Uh,
Right.
what are you finding in your experience, right? In terms of out of those top 10, how would you drill down to prioritizing it?
Okay, so my own thought on that is, I highly depend on the OS, right? So basically, it's kind of practice when you start, assessing the projects, right? It becomes a practice to look into the particular vulnerabilities which are more critical, right? So as we talked about Bola, as we talked about broken authentication, these are the first thing that I go and jump onto, right? So obviously first thing that comes recon, when you just uh, go and grab as much as detail that you can, and then jump onto the attacking mode.
Okay, so cannot hear you at the moment. Try again.
Okay, I'm sorry, I think I have a bit bad network. So yeah, so I was saying that mainly, it will be reconnaissance, and then we'll be jumping onto the onto the OWASP checklist.
Okay. Can we take that as professional advice?
I think we can. And hats off to Vandan. I wanted to hear her, but as I had next talk, I just missed it.
You
So
just missed it. Okay, I gave you the summary anyway. So she talked at about the threats at a higher level, and included authentication, and what
future of
else?
API security, right? So
Hmm.
yeah, it's very
Authentication, authorization, resource, functional level, and then mass assignment. So some kind of higher level, what you
yeah,
touched on. So there seems to be. So you need to meet. You need to catch up.
right.
Let me see. We have a couple of minutes remaining. Um, yeah. So you sort of proudly displayed the community at the end, right? Documenting and sharing resources. Do you find any limitations with APIs? APIs are known to be not very well documented. Well, they document themselves through the code. Does does
Yeah.
does that ever form a hindrance? How do you overcome that, or are there other challenges that you face as a pen tester?
Okay. So basically, as a pen tester, we need to have the API documentation uh, at the very beginning stage, right? When I talked about Postman, so there should be Postman collection
Mm,
of all the requests and responses that are being used by the application, right? So I feel like all the time I get this that from the developer that we do not maintain documentation of APIs, right? So I do go recommend them and ask them to go prepare that and then come back to us.
yeah. So it's also the journey to testing is effective collaboration.
Yep.
All right, Sunny, we're time up already. The 25 minutes goes really quick. Fascinating, and pleasure to have you share your knowledge. So thanks so
Thank,
much for attending
thank,
and sharing all your experience. And thanks
thank
to
you.
the audience. We're going to have our next presenter,